Solve an equation by factoring. So to solve this one, we first need to have the polynomial on one side, the equal sign, and 0 on the other. So we're going to start by subtracting 50x from both sides of the equal sign, and we'll be left with 18x to the 3 minus 50x is equal to 0. Now we are going to factor, but we first look at the coefficients. And it looks like the only coefficient that the greatest common factor is 2. So let's go ahead and pull out a 2, and that'll leave a 9. I'm sorry. And then also both terms here have an x, so we can pull out a 2x. Then that will leave a 9x squared, and then minus 50 is equal to 0. I'm sorry, 25 minus 25. Is equal to 0. So we can go double check by distributing back out. So that would be 18x to the 3, and this one here would be negative 50x. Okay, so we're fine now, and now we can apply our zero product property. So we're going to set each of the factors equal to 0 and solve for x. So we will have 2x is equal to 0, and divide both sides by 2, leaving x is equal to 0. The next one here, we would need to apply the square of differences, factoring differences of squares here, because we have a perfect square here minus a perfect square. So we can apply that. I'm sorry, I skipped forward one step. So let me go ahead and determine my a and b on the right side. So our a squared is equal to 9x squared, and my b squared is equal to 25. So I'll take the square root of both sides to figure out my a and my b. My a is going to equal to 3x, and my b is going to equal to 5. So I'm going to rewrite this equation here as 2x parentheses 3x plus 5 times 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now I can apply the zero product property and set each one of our factors equal to 0. I went ahead and did the first one, x is equal to 0. Let's do the second and the third one. It would be 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. And then I'm going to minus 5 on both sides, and I'll get 3x is equal to negative 5. Divide by 3, and this here would be my answer, right? X is equal to negative 5 over 3. Let's set the next factor to 0, and so I'm going to add 5 to both sides, and I'll get 3x is equal to 5. Divide by 3, and I'll get x is equal to 5 over 3. So I have three answers. I have x is equal to 0, or x is equal to negative 5 over 3, or x is equal to 5 over 3, and I'm going to put that right over here. So 0, comma, negative 5 over 3, and then 5 over 3. Why don't we continue? We have this word problem. During an accident, skid marks may result, and the formula determines how long the skid mark is, right? D is how long the skid mark is. S is the, what is S? Is the speed in miles per hour. So we have 1 over 24 times S squared equals D, the length of the skid mark. So we have here that the skid mark's length is 150 feet long, and now we are asked to find S, how fast was the car going in miles per hour. So let's go ahead and substitute in 150 for D. So I'm going to put here D is equal to 150. And then I'm going to substitute into my equation up there, 1 over 24, S squared is equal to 150. I'm going to subtract 150 from both sides of the equal sign, as I did up in this problem here, because we do want polynomial is equal to 0. Right? So let's rewrite it. So 1 over 24, S squared is equal to, minus 150 is equal to 0. So now we have a polynomial equals 0. And now let's continue to work on this. We need this to be have a whole number in front of the S squared. Right. So we can do that by multiplying every term in the equation by 24, right, or the reciprocal of the coefficient of the S squared term. So let's go ahead and do that. It would be 24 times the entire equation, and we'll distribute that out. 24 over 24 is 1s squared, so we're going to have s squared. 24 times negative 150 is negative 3,600, and then 0 times 24 is 0, right? Now that we take a look at our polynomial, we can see we have a perfect square here and a perfect square here. So we can apply the factoring differences of squares method, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say our a squared is equal to s squared, and our b squared is equal to 3,600. Okay. So we're going to take the square root of both sides to find our a and our b. So our a is equal to s, and our b is equal to 60. And then we can go and rewrite our polynomial as factors. So we could say s plus 60 times s minus 60 is equal to 0. Now that we have two factors that are multiplied by each other equals 0, we can apply the zero product property. If a times b is equal to 0, then either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. So we can set the first polynomial to 0, we can set the second polynomial to 0 and solve for s. Okay, let's do that. S plus 60 is equal to 0. We'll subtract 60 from both sides, and we'll get s is equal to negative 60. On the other side, we'll set s minus 60 is equal to 0. We'll add 60 to both sides, and then we'll get s is equal to 60. All right. So in the context of the question, which answer makes the most sense? Well, can the car travel negative 60 miles per hour? No, that doesn't make any sense. But can the car travel 60 miles an hour? Yes, that is true. It can. And it's the answer that makes the most sense. So that's what we are going to use here for number 9. We're going to say 60 miles per hour as our answer of how fast the car was traveling when he... What is this? Is this... Did he hit the brakes? Yeah. So when he hit the brakes and he created a skid mark that was 150 feet long.